Chapter 5. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Aram, was a great man with his master, and held in esteem. Because of him the Lord had given victory unto Aram. He was also a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. And the Arameans had gone out in bands, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, Would that my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, then would he recover of his leprosy. And he went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus saith the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Aram said, Go now, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed, and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, And now, when this letter is come unto you, behold, I have sent Naaman, my servant, to you, that you mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes, and said, Am I God, to kill and to make alive? And this man doth send unto me to recover a man of leprosy? But consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh an occasion against me. And it was so, when Elisha the man of God heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Why have you rent your clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman come with his horses and with his chariots, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall come back to you, and you shall be clean. But Naaman was wroth, and sent away, and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me, and stand, and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place, and recover the leper. Are not Amana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them, and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And his servants came near, and spoke unto him, and said, My father, if the prophet had bid you do some great thing, would you have not done it? How much rather then when he saith to you, Wash, and be clean? Then went he down, and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came back like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And he said, Behold now, I know that there is no God in all the earth, but in Israel. Now therefore I pray you, take a present of your servant. But he said, As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And Naaman said, If not, yet I pray you, let there be given to your servant 2 mules, burden of earth. For your servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offerings, nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord. In this thing the Lord pardon your servant, when your servant goeth into the house of Rimmon, to worship there. And he leaneth on my hand, and I prostrate myself in the house of Rimmon. When I prostrate myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon your servant in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him some way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, Behold, my master has spared this Naaman the Aramean, in not receiving at his hands that which he brought. As the Lord lives, I will surely run after him, and take somewhat of him. So Gehazi followed after Naaman. And when Naaman saw one running after him, he alighted from the chariot to meet him, and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master has sent me, saying, Behold, even now there are come to me from the hill country of Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray you, 1 talent of silver, and 2 changes of raiment. And Naaman said, Be content. Take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, with 2 changes of raiment, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bore them before him. And when he came to the hill, he took them from their hand, and deposited them in the house. And he let the men go, and they departed. But he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said unto him, Whence comest you, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant went nowhither. And he said unto him, Went not my heart with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it a time to receive money, and to receive garments, and olive yards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and men servants, and maidservants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto you, and unto your seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper, as white as snow. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. Now, in the last chapter yesterday, chapter 4, which is the work of God, we received these 4 examples, which is the work of God, of these things that Elisha is going to bring around. And we know Elisha has took on this mantle, or this covering of division that Eliah wore. And it kind of all boils down to these things. And at the end, we're going to find out that all this was done by God. And it's all done to bring forth this latter harvest, even as the prophecies have said, so God could increase his flock. And that's really what it's all about. God is wanting to increase his flock through this last harvest with this great understanding of how he has done all these things so that we can see. All right, we're going to pick this chapter up. Chapter is 5, and it shows how God has grace on all. And we're going to pick it up in verse 1. Now Naaman, the captain of the host of the king of Aram, was a great man with his master, and held in esteem, because by him the Lord had given victory unto Aram. He was also a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. So the story is going to be about Naaman. And Naaman means pleasantness, and he is the captain of the host, or the captain of all the armies of this king of the enlightened ones. These ones who are exalted in understanding. And he is a great man. God has given him victory now over everyone for the king of Aram, so he can make an example out of him. But there's one thing, he is a leper, and this leprosy is a symbology of being unclean in the flesh, having sin now, but with only a fleshful understanding. Verse 2, And the Arameans had gone out in bands, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. So we see these Arameans, these enlightened ones, have gone out now in bands, in little groups, and they have brought away captivity. And we're going to notice now, Israel is in this form of a captivity. Many of theirs have been carried away captive. And they've brought away this little maid. And this little maid is going to represent a woman, this one that's from man, who is going to serve God now. God's going to use her. And she is a servant now to Naaman's wife. Verse 3, And she said unto her mistress, Would that my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, then would he recover of him of his leprosy. So the young maid is telling Naaman's wife, she's saying, I wish my Lord Naaman was in Samaria. There's a prophet there, and he would heal him of his leprosy. Verse 4, And he went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus saith the maid that is of the land of Israel. So now he's went into the king, Naaman has, and he's told the king what this little maid has said. 5, And the king of Aram said, Go now, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed, and took with him these 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. So Naaman now has told the king these things, and the king says, good, I will give you a letter. Now you go to the king of Israel with this letter. And he does, and he's taking these 10 talents of silver. And now I want you to pay attention to this 10 talents of silver, because the law is going around in this silver. And that's what this talent means, to go around. 10 is the law. The law does go around in the silver. And the silver stands for that which is going to pass through the fire. And God uses it as an example now. So these circles of examples, and this 6,000 pieces of gold, for 6 days shall you do your work. This is the labor of man being fulfilled now in these pieces of gold, that which does belong to God. All these things belong to God. He controls everything. And these 10 changes of raiment. Now, listen, the law is going to change somebody's raiment. The law, that's what's going to happen here. See, the law is going to change. Naaman is who it's going to change. 6. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, and now when this letter is come unto you, behold, I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you mayest recover him of his leprosy. So Naaman gets to the king of Israel, and he's got his letter, and all of his gold, and his silver, and his changes of clothes. And he presents it to the king. And it says that he should heal him now of his leprosy. 7. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, am I God to kill and make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? But consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh an occasion against me. So this king of Israel, this king of the ones who've been scattered in all the earth, he gets this letter and he reads it. He says, how can I do these things? Am I God? I can't heal a man of his disease of the flesh. Even this, sins of the flesh. This is what leprosy stands for. You're diseased in the flesh. You don't have no understanding of the spirit. Of the higher law, see, because we do keep the higher and leave the lesser not undone, to show that we have understanding of the higher. See, this is our example we present before God, that we keep his law of both. See, we have to do the higher, keeping our spirit clean, and then we have to do the lower now to show God and all mankind that we do understand the higher. 7 or 8. And it was so, when Elisha the man of God heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, wherefore have you rent your clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Elisha, my mighty one salvation, has heard now that the king's rent his clothes, and when he tore his clothes, this means he's making himself bare. He's reached the limit of his understanding. He's torn. He's torn his garment now, this understanding that he's got over him. He's reached the end of it. He's made bare that which is underneath. And he thinks that it's all just to come against him somehow. And we're going to find it's to show that the true power lies in God and not in these kings. 9. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariots, and he stood at the door of the house of Elisha. So now Naaman, he's come down. He's got all of his horses. This is to show all this power and strength he has, with his chariots. These are the war machines where they stand behind now, and they handle the reins from there. And he stands now at the door of Elisha at the mighty one's salvation, because the king sent him down there to see Elisha. 10. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall come back to you, and you shall be clean. So Elisha don't even go out. He just sends a messenger out there, and he tells Naaman, he says, go down to the Jordan and wash now 7 times, and your flesh shall come back to you. So What he's telling Naaman is to go down to the Jordan. These waters now that descend from the throne of God, and wash yourself 7 times, and 7 is perfection. These times, even these circles that we go around, understanding, see, of why God has done this, and your flesh shall come back to you. And what this is, these waters that descended from the throne of God were these 10 words, these 10 teachings that Moses brought down from the mountain to give to humanity, a covenant unto Israel, so that all the earth could see the blessings of God poured out, that you might come to understanding and be healed. 11, but Naaman was wroth, and went away, and said, Behold, I thought, he will surely come out to me, and stand, and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place, and recover the leper. So Naaman thought, he was going to come out and do something, do some kind of little ritual thing. But we know that you ain't supposed to do those things like that. God commanded it now, not to do after the others do, because they've done all forms of stuff. So, but now, we're going to see that he just sent a messenger out to him. And this kind of makes Naaman very mad. And Naaman says, 12, Are not Amana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May not I wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. So now Naaman storms off. He's mad and says, Why can't I go down and wash in these rivers of Damascus? This place where the sackcloth weavers working there silently. To these rivers now of Amana and Pharpar. And Amana means stones, and what it means is the river of stones, where the waters go over them, and when they do, it agitates the water and adds air to it. And this water is thought to be cleaner now because it has passed over the rocks and aerated. And Pharpar, this is a river, means rushing. This rushing river, and this also is a river that has where the waters rush, and it's thought to be cleaner now than that of the Jordan, which moves softly. So these, and the thing is this rushing river is rushing is really like tension and frustration, and like something's going to break. 13, and his servant came near and spoke unto him, and said, My father, if the prophet had bid you to some great thing, would you have not done it? How much rather then when he says to you, Wash and be clean? So his servants come up to him. He's stormed off mad. He's mad because they didn't ask him to do flips and somersaults. And his servant says, If he would have asked you to do this great thing now, wouldn't you have done it? But how much now? All he said to you was just go wash and be clean now. Wash in these laws of God that come from the throne now, and be clean. Then went he down, 14, and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came back like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. So now Naaman's did what Elisha told him to do. He's gone down, washed himself in the Jordan, dipped himself down in there 7 times, see? 7 times it's perfected. These circles, these we're going to go round. Understanding's come to him now. I told you the law was going to change him. There it's done it, see? He's dipped himself in the law, and it's changed him. Makes his flesh like a little child. He's made like a child before God. He's made new, made clean, because he has bathed himself in the law. 15, and he returned to the man of God, he and all his company. And he came and he stood before him, and he said, Behold now, I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray you, take a present of your servant. So Naaman, after he's bathed in the Jordan, he comes back. He's just as happy as he can be. Him and all his company, all of his strength and all his might, his chariots and everything, they've returned now. And he says, I know there ain't no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore take this present. 16, but he said, Elisha did, as the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. So we'll see, Elisha don't take no reward. See, what's he want? See, this thing is done by God. See, from the obedience to his prophets, which have told you now to keep the law. And Naaman said, if not, 17, yet I pray you let there be given to your servant 2 mules, burden of earth, for your servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto the gods, other gods, but unto the Lord. So Naaman says to him now, well, if you won't take nothing from me, then give me these 2 mules, these witness now, these 2 sterile kingdoms, these 2 kingdoms that will be sterile, burden of earth. And burden of earth is going to stand for now, they're trapped in the flesh. For your servant will now neither offer burnt offerings nor sacrifice unto other God. So Naaman's changed his ways. He shall no longer go, and these 2 mules are going to be a witness now of this sterile kingdom. These sterile kingdoms cannot bring forth any seed, see, because there is no understanding in them from God. God has done this so that you can understand. This is your witness that he gave you. But now, God's going to bring life to this through this understanding that he has done this because there is a God. See, and he does talk to men. 18, and in this thing the Lord pardon your servant. When your master goes into the house of Ramon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, I prostrate myself in the house of Ramon. When I prostrate myself in the house of Ramon, the Lord pardon your servant in this thing. So what's Naaman saying? What Naaman is asking now, I will offer no other burnt offerings to any gods except to Israel, except to the God of Israel. But in this thing, let God pardon me, that when I go in with the king, my master, and he goes into the house of Ramon to worship there, and this Ramon means pomegranate. See, this pomegranate represents this Ramon, this deity, this not a god, this thing that they used to go and worship. And this pomegranate also represents this fruit of the tree that they was commanded not to take. I know you all your life you've been taught, oh, it's an apple. It ain't no apple. Ain't no apple there. They partook of the not a God. They partook of the teachings of men. They partook of the understanding of men, that which God commanded them not to. He said, these trees shall you eat thereof, these laws shall you understand, this shall be your food. But they departed from that. 19, and he said unto him, go in peace. So he departed from him some way. So he's asked for now, pardon me now, when I have to go in the house of Ramon with my master there, and he bows down before Ramon. Pardon me now when I have to bow with him, because he leans upon my hand. So I'm going in there with him, and he's leaning on me. But pardon me now, because I have to do this thing. God's showing you what he's going to do. He's pardoning this one. Who? Naaman, pleasantness. And he said unto him, go in peace. So he departed from him some way. So Elisha told him, now that's fine. Go in peace. This thing will be well. And in some way he went out. But Gehazi, 20, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, behold, my master has spared this Naaman the Aramean, and not receiving at his hands that which he brought. As the Lord lives, I will surely run after him and take somewhat of him. So now Elishah's servant, this Gehazi, and Gehazi is this vision of the lowland. See, this dream, this vision, or this thought, whatever, this understanding, this crack, this crevice that you fall in you can't get out of, says to himself, oh, well, my master now has let this Naaman go and didn't take all this good gold and silver from him and all these clothes. I think I'll go get a little bit for myself. 21. So Gehazi followed after Naaman and went. And when Naaman saw one running after him, he alighted from the chariot to meet him and said, is all well? So Naaman looks back, and there comes Gehazi running. He's wanting a little bit of that gold, a little bit of that silver for himself. He's wanting to get something for himself, and we're going to find out he does. He gets him something. 22, and he said, all is well, my master has sent me, saying, behold, even now there is come to me from the hill country of Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray you, a talent of silver and 2 changes of raiment. So Gehazi catches up with him. Naaman comes off his chariot there, and he comes back. Everything's okay. He says, yeah, but these 2 young men, these sons of the prophets, now witness. These 2 young men, sons of the prophets, out of Ephraim. Ephraim is this place of the double-fruited, those being of double fruit. They'll come to me now. He said, please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of raiment. Now, witness changes of raiment. God's getting ready. He's going to put this witness to show you how he has changed. He's going to change his raiment as well. He just healed Naaman. See, he heals Naaman and he spares Naaman. Changed his raiment through the law. Now witness what he's going to do here to Gehazi, this crack or this crevice they fell into, this vision they can't get out of, even this of the flesh, this talent of silver, this circle that has to go through the fire, this example. See, that's what God's trying to tell you here. Now witness this. And Naaman said, be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, and with 2 changes of raiment, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bore with them before him. So witness. God wants you to witness this and understand this. God has the power to do this thing. See? Now watch what he's going to do to the servant of Elisha. Now witness this circle here. And he bound up these 2 talents, these 2 circles of silver, in 2 bags. Now witness these bags, because this is that which containeth the silver. And these 2 changes of raiment. Now witness how he has changed these raiments upon these 2 servants. Witness now these 2 servants that God has caused to serve him, even Gehazi and Naaman. 24, and when he came to the hill, he took them from their hand and deposited them in the house, and he let them go, and they departed. So Gehazi gets back, him and these 2 fellows that's carrying all the loot, and he takes and he hides it now. He deposits it somewhere in the house. 25, but he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said unto him, where come you, Gehazi? And he said, your servant went nowhere. So when Gehazi gets back in the room where Elisha's at, he says, Elisha wants to know where you went. And Gehazi says, I ain't went nowhere. 26, and he said unto him, went not my heart with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it a time to receive money, and to receive garments, and olive yards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and men servants, and maid servants? So what Elisha's saying to him is, where do you think you're at? You went and got this loot. You went and got this money and all this from Naaman now, and you took it to yourself, hid it there, just like Achan did. And now, this ain't no time to take money. This ain't no time to receive garments, these changes of raiment. Why? The children of Israel have been carried off into captivity, and here you are taking in olive yards and vineyards and sheep and oxen. These sheep, the flock of God, and these oxen, that which you cost to pull. Men servants and maid servants, causing these to serve you. This ain't no time for that. See, we should be getting back into the grace of God to show He would deliver us now from this captivity that we are in, even now scattered amongst all the world. 27. The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto you, and unto your seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper as white as snow. So now Elisha has turned it around, see. Elisha has caused his servant Gehazi now. He becomes the leper in the place of Naaman. Naaman's healed this pleasantness now, this Edom, the enlightened ones. But Gehazi now, the servant of Elisha, my mighty one's salvation, this vision of the flesh, these crevice that people fall in they can't get out of. He's a leper. See, all this disease of the flesh now is turned upon him. And he's made white as snow, but he ain't clean. All right, let's move on to chapter 6.